And then he got so rich that he started going to countries that were struggling financially, and you say to the country,
giving them loans.
I'll give you loan. In return, I'll have a monopoly of matches in your country.
Okay, episode 3, we're back. Welcome back to the Business and Banter podcast. You know, your favorite podcast, your mom's favorite podcast, your auntie's favorite podcast. We're back again.
Your dog and cat.
Exactly. Everyone's favorite. We're back again, 3rd episode. Just when you thought it would be over, just, you know, you can kick us away like a rash. We're back with another one. So, you know, let's go straight into it. How do you wanna do it this week? You wanna start off, or should I?
No, you knock it off, mate.
Okay, I think we can quickly start talking about this Elizabeth Holmes woman and her.
Yeah, I can see on your list. I was gonna pick that one first to go.
Okay, fair enough.
There you go.
I'll try and give some context behind, or just who she is and that kind of thing, for those who don't know. So I've got some notes here just generally about her and her life. So Elizabeth Holmes is this tech lady who was at one point the richest female or the youngest female billionaire. But I'll give you some. Let me give you a quick rundown of her list. So, born in 1984, went to Stanford University at the age of 19, but she dropped out to start her own company called, I don't know if it's Theranos or Theranos. We'll go with Theranos for now. But basically it aimed to revolutionize the healthcare sector. So she had apparently like a little device that apparently could do a whole bunch of medical tests with a few drops of blood in there. Which is what this was the whole selling point of this, you know, Theranos company. And by 2014, the company was valued at $9 billion, making her the youngest self-made female billionaire. So she's on top of the world, you know, everyone's like, wow. And she had this whole demeanor of being like this hard woman who, because she was, you know, in the gaming business, she kind of had this persona of being this tough lady. She only wore turtlenecks because I think her favorite or her icon was Steve Jobs. So she was basically saying that she was the female version of him. So obviously at the height of all of this, she the Wall Street Journal publish a series of investigative articles exposing, you know, what they thought were discrepancies with the technology that she was, you know, that her and her company were essentially selling to everyone. It all ends up, you know, everyone finds out about it. It's like a big hurrah, and then the USA Food and Drug Admin Agency, or you know, the Food and Drug people, there start doing their own tests to find out, you know, whether what she claims is happening with this healthcare technology is true. Finds out that you know, essentially this whole thing's been a lie, because investors were putting money into it, but the more money that was going into the company, the less like lab results and stuff that the investors were getting. So I think some people starting to get skeptical. So they found out that, you know, this is a whole massive fraud, and it's like layers and layers of all kinds of fraud happening. I think there's like the fraud of the technology not working, but then there's also like money fraud. So basically they end up going to court, and the SEC, which is like the HMRC, I guess, for the UK, but the people who kind of make sure that you're trading correctly. Right? Is that correct?
Is it IRS? I think IRS in America.
don't know. IRS would be like HMRC here. I don't know. SEC would be.
Yeah.
I don't know what the UK equivalent would be, but the SEC are the ones who make sure like there's no like insider trading and stuff like that. But yeah, they end up taking it to court. I think she agrees to pay a $500,000 fine, and she returns $18.9 million dollars of shares to shareholders, and obviously she couldn't basically, because the company is publicly traded, she couldn't serve as director. She gets fired, or I think she's not allowed to be the director for 10 years. And then on top of that, they get criminal charges for wire fraud and conspiracy to commit wire fraud. They go on trial in August 2021, go through several months, and during the trial, her lawyers are trying to basically convince everyone that she genuinely believed in the company's potential. She believed that this technology was actually going to change lives. But since 2003 to 2014, where this all started, I guess the technology never actually worked. I think the jury doesn't fall for it. So she gets found guilty on 4 of 11 counts of what she was being charged with. 2 counts of conspiracy to commit wire fraud and 2 counts of actually committing wire fraud. And I think she faces 20 years for each count. So that's 40 years in prison for the 4 counts that she was found guilty for. But I think basically she's managed to schmooze her way out of court because basically she had a kid. So firstly she had a child, and I think like her first child is like 3 or 4, and then she's also had a second child, which is like a proper baby, and that has basically allowed the court has granted her to extend her stay outside of prison. This woman who's waiting to serve 80 years is still walking free on the streets. While some people don't get that privilege, which is quite funny.
Just to disrupt you there.
Go ahead,
Trevor. Did you hear the quote from Shan on My First Million about this?
No.
He said she took a maternity leave from prison.
That's a good way of putting it, right?
That's a good way to put it.
That properly.
She's just on maternity leave. When she's done, she'll go back and do a 40 years stint.
Yeah, but I think she's got like a big legal team and press team around her, because this week she releases I don't know, it's like an article or whatever I think it's the New York Post.
Yes, New York Times, rebranding.
Yeah. Exactly. And basically this house starts as meet Liz Holmes.
Not Elizabeth.
Not Elizabeth. Meet Liz Holmes. So she's a devoted mother of 2 kids who loves nothing more than family outings to the zoo, walking her dogs, and talking to her husband in a very normal voice, which is absolutely nothing compared to the weird baritone, her alter ego voice, Elizabeth. So they're basically trying to rebrand her as Liz is this lovely mother who's unlike Elizabeth, which is the ego that she put on when she was running the business, which is quite an interesting move.
And the pictures looks like from Mid-Journey. It just doesn't look real.
It looks fake. The picture looks like you've asked AI to say, draw me a picture of, the perfect family sitting on the beach. It's so overdone, but it's like an interesting kind of spin, because I don't know what the team is trying to do. Obviously, they're trying to rebrand her as like a good person and not this this ruthless businesswoman, but I don't know what that's planning to do in terms. I don't know if they're going to try and maybe counteract some of these charges to say, look, she's changed woman. Can we just get house arrest instead or whatever? Which it's not far fetched for these billionaires. These guys have ways to get around these things, but I don't know. What do you think is what do you think is the point of all this? What do you think she's trying to achieve?
I think they probably know that she will get sentenced, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you say what, 20 and 20. That's what, 40. And
But 4 counts and up to 20 years for each count.
okay,
So 80 years.
That's serious. Yeah. So even they say for what, is it like 2/3 of the term? So that's 60 years. That's still a lot. Like that's whatever, like 50 something years. That's a lot.
Yeah.
But I think what they're doing is they know she'll be found guilty anyway. No problem.
Mm-hmm.
And what they're doing is, I think, the rebrand is to try, because they failed to convince the courts that she wasn't trying to scam, which because she was scamming. But what they're trying to, I think what they're trying to do is acknowledge that, you know, she did wrong and she is changing. That's why they are rebranding her and sort of showing the family side and everything. I think inside the story, I think they even mentioned something about a dog missing. I think something.
Apparently, I don't have it here, but apparently, she uses that drive that she had, that drive that, you know, that made her so rich and successful. The same drive that apparently she lost. She loses a dog, and she was the last one out searching for it, and she wouldn't give up. And that's that drive that, you know, that the same drive that led her to just be too much with the business.
Yeah, and that's the thing, that they are trying to paint that picture that, okay, she did all this, but it's because she actually believed that it was gonna work. You know, just like our guy Billy McFarland, you know, he said in court, he believed the fire festival was gonna happen up to the day. There was nothing, there was no toilets there, but he still believed that they could figure something out on the day. So I think that's what they're trying to do, like to say, you know what she did in good faith because she believed in the company and it wasn't like someone who was trying to mislead people and all that. That failed. Now they're thinking, okay, if we're gonna try and get her out either early or something like that, we have to say the voice is gone because it was just a persona. The whatever turtlenecks gone. Plus she have kids. She's a family person. She's a loving person and all this stuff. But I think she's still gonna hit the prison. Like,
Right.
there's no way she's not gonna hit the prison. She has to.
I'm trying to think what the best case scenario in this thing, like this whole rebrand and whatnot. Do you think the judge? I mean, even if the judge falls for it, she still has a jury to convince. Which
To convince, yeah.
and what they're gonna do? Like say, okay, because now you're a mother, everything you did before that doesn't count.
No,
she
really.
She has to see some time in there, surely.
Yeah, she definitely will. But that being said, though, America is funny.
Fair point. Fair point.
Who knows? We'll be watching. We'll see how they spin this around. Like,
yeah, we'll have to wait. And the thing is, her being a woman as well, obviously, as contentious as it is, it kind of works to her advantage. It's a lot.
Yes.
It's a lot easier to feel sorry for her than it is if it was a guy. Even just for me, say like me reading the thing, I know it's bullshit, but I'm also kind of like,
yeah, when you're reading it,
maybe she has changed, you know.
Are you gonna start calling her Liz now?
I might do, you know. I might do. I'm like, oh, Liz looks so sweet. She shouldn't be going to prison.
Yeah.
But yeah,
what about how old is the new baby? Is it like
quickly check?
I
think it's like a proper baby, like months old.
Yeah, because on the picture she's like holding the baby. The other one's
Yeah.
Older.
Yeah, so it says here the other one was born. So one is 2 and the other one was born in 2021. So I don't even think the other one's 1 yet.
2021. So maybe turning 2 this year. So
what
about if she ever
Yeah, wow, my maths is I got 2022 confused with 2021.
Yeah. 2020. So that's like a 1 year old or less. What about if she has another baby? Would that help?
Right? I was about to ask you, do you think she's just going to keep having babies for the next 80 years? We'll just keep having new babies so she doesn't go to prison.
No, all she has to do, to be honest, all she has to do is have another baby, and then Trump comes into power, and Trump will be like, listen.
Pardons it.
You are like me. You are pardoned. You know what I mean? So it's not much. You know, when does Trump come in? Next year?
That would be crazy. Imagine if that happens. That would be
whoa, that would be something else. But I would, to be honest, I wouldn't put past it. Like, this is something that can happen.
America's a wild place.
Yeah,
it is a wild place.
This is something will happen. Like, Trump will be like, listen, you know, she pops up on the list, you know, Liz Holmes is free. Mm-hmm. She can, and then how many years she got for? She can't be a CEO for how many years?
10.
Billy got lifetime.
Oh really?
Yeah, Billy got lifetime for. He can. I think he can be a CEO for a publicly traded company.
All right.
I think. Okay. Yeah.
So just keep it private.
You just keep
really
it private.
Much of a,
yeah. It's not. Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter though. You can be chairman of the board.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's always ways around it, right? There's always ways around it.
Exactly. If you're chairman of the board, then, you know, it doesn't matter. You know, you'll be chairman of the board, Trevor. Then you put me as a CEO. You tell me everything you want me to do.
And that's it. It's easy as that.
Then it's sorted.
These rules. Yeah, I was just looking. It said that her son was the one born in July 2021. That was the first kid. And then she had the second child in February of this year. So that's like, baby's fresh.
Okay.
It's like 3 months old, something
that's
like that.
That's interesting. That's a baby.
Proper baby.
Okay, that's something else.
Well, interesting. Anyway, shall we move on? We'll follow that.
We'll follow it.
Any updates? We'll definitely bring that to the podcast. I'm sure.
We'll let you know. This is, you know, we're just gonna have our RSS feeds turned on. Exactly. For this one.
I can't wait. Can't wait to see what Liz comes up with next. Right. I see. Let me pick one from your list. I see you've got Ivar Krueger. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I don't know who that
you
is.
are not saying it right, according to the Swedish people.
I see.
Okay? I will attempt to say it correctly. His name is Ivar Krueger.
I see. So different.
I think that's the name. Okay. This guy, he was Trump before Trump. He was Benny Murdoch before Benny Murdoch. The guy wanted to take over the world. He wanted to own everything. Where do we start with this guy? He was born in 1880, 2nd of March. Reason why I tell you about March, you're gonna love the reason. I can tell you know briefly about this guy. Yeah, he was born in March. His father was industrial. You see, I'm bad with my L's and all that. Industrialist, a match industrialist. Yeah, like he made matches. You know, the dad. So this is like in the early 1900s.
Like matchsticks, fire matchsticks.
Fire matchsticks.
Right.
He was like you had factories that made these matches. And mind you, this is the 1900s, the early 1900s. You know, like matchsticks was like a hot commodity. You know what I mean? Like you needed match to light your gas stoves, like cigarettes, like match was needed, man. Like lighting, all sorts. Yeah. So to to skip to just bring the match in, this guy made his fortune selling match. Not yet. His dad is in the match business. He later made a fortune selling match. In short, we can say he was like a matchstick magnet.
Okay.
So
I like that.
Yeah. As a kid, he was so intelligent, he skipped 2 classes in primary school. He got 2 master's degrees by the age of 20 in both in engineering, civil and mechanical. So he had a civil engineering master's, a mechanical engineering master's. And after his master's, he decided to travel around the world. So he went to United States, Mexico, and a few other countries in South America. And I think he made a friend in United States, and he ended up in South Africa. And whilst he was in South Africa, him and his friend decided to start a business, a restaurant. They had this restaurant, and they decided to sell it. They sold the restaurant, and he was planning to come back to Sweden. And he came across like a patent system that was patented in South Africa and a few other countries, which was called Khan system. I think a guy by the name of something Khan had patented this system, which is used in like concrete reinforcement. When you see when people are building multi-story buildings, when they do the concrete, they put like a steel like steel rods inside. It's like a W shape, and it just goes. But he recognized that this system was not patented in Sweden. So he decided he was going to take this system and patent it in Sweden and build a business around it.
Right.
So in so doing, when he got to Sweden, he realized he couldn't patent the system. So he decided to form a company anyway. Actually, before he formed the company, I think 1907, I think there was like a financial, depression. And I think he was such a clever guy. He realized, okay, with all this happening, that's when he started making his moves of the businesses he would do in the future. And basically his model was more, have you ever heard, when they say if there's a gold rush, the best business, don't follow everybody to run to the gold mine. Start making, P's and X's. Just like what Levi did, where when everybody was going to the gold rush, they decided to start making the clothes that people who are going there would need. So they make jean kind of type of clothes, he did the same. He started learning more about the things that would be needed, when they come out of this depression. And the first thing he did was he did a couple lectures about this system to try and educate the students who were coming out of universities at that time about this system. People that were doing architecture and stuff like that. And he also went to Germany and tried to patent this system, him and his friend. I think they managed to patent in Germany. And then they created a company in Germany, a construction company. He also created another company. The one in Germany, the name is long. But he also created another one in Sweden. which was called Krueger and Tor. Tor was one of his friends who he came together with to set up this company. And so he did this in 1908. And with this company, he actually got a contract to build a city hall foundation, the foundation of the city hall in Sweden, in Stockholm.
Right.
And with that, he got other contracts. You find this sort of like being his way of doing things, where he got this contract, and then with this contract in the bag, he went on to get more and more contracts based on this, because you'll go and say, I have a contract to build the city hall, and then he gets more contracts. And but what he also did, very good, very good. And what he also did was, in Sweden, I'm not sure if it was only in Sweden, but from my reading, it was pretty much like more based on Sweden. In Sweden, they had a system where when you're charging a client, there will also be like a fee that will be paid. I think they called it definite commitment to finish.
Right.
So it's like, if the building is not finished on the day that they set to finish, the client assume the risk, which means the client will have to pay for every day missed. I know it doesn't make sense, but what he did.
So if you're building me if you're building me a building, if you are late by 3 days, I have to pay.
Yeah, that was the rule at the time.
I have to pay you, or I have to pay the council, or what?
I think it will come off. For example, if I say to you, it's gonna cost you 10 grand to build.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
At the end, if it goes past, you have to pay. Well, I'll read it here. You have to pay $1,200 per day, which is equivalent to 18,000 of today's dollars. Wow. It didn't make sense. I read it so many times. I researched, and that was the rule. So there was no incentive for the construction company to do it quicker.
Yeah.
Right?
Doesn't make
so
sense.
So it didn't make sense at all. But what Ivar did, he decided to change and with his company, he decided to have a definite commitment to finish on time. So before, the risk was assumed by the client. Now the risk is assumed by the constructor, the contractor, who is the construction company, which meant if he finished late, he pays the customer for every day they're late.
Right.
However, if they finish early, the client pays for every day they finished early.
Okay.
So here's how smart he is.
All right.
So he could coach you that, this would take 4 months, but he could do it in 2 months. Now you owe him. So he was a very smart person, where he would see like loopholes in all these systems. So he decided, like, okay, he set up the construction company, set up loads of he knew when they were coming out of the First World War, there will be loads of businesses that we need to reconstruct and stuff like that. So he will have business. And he also decided to go back into his father's
match company.
No, actually, before he went back to his father's match company, what he did was he decided to go around and buy companies. But the way he was buying the companies based on securities. So let's say in this modern time, he was doing, this is the second time I'm gonna bring up this guy, Billy McFarlane.
Oh.
You remember? You remember Billy McFarlane went and got, I think, money from investors.
Yeah.
Based on securities of the money he had in Facebook. You know, he told them, I have money, you know, I have a Facebook stock worth whatever the money was. And he got, you know, exactly, you know what I mean? So it's a fake stock. And so he got money, you know, against that as a security, but there was no money.
Right.
Ivar Krueger was doing this, you know, 115 years earlier.
Also,
so
he was
doing exactly that. He was every company he was buying, he wasn't giving them money. You'll find a company that's struggling, and he'll say, listen, I'll take over the company, and if it doesn't work out, the backstop is I'll pay you this much based on you know, that company I have, it's worth this much, my share is this much, so I have this much liquid cash. But he didn't have it.
I see.
You know what I mean? So he was doing that almost every time, and he was getting companies where he would say, I'll pay you over like whatever time, and they'll sell him the company because he's already wealthy, but he'll pay them back using that company. So he would literally just straighten things with the company and then just pay them back.
Profit,
whatever. Exactly. You use the profit to pay them. You know what I mean? But so you end up with a good portfolio of companies. And when the World War was coming to an end, in his company portfolios, he had banks, he had mining companies, he had railways, he had timber companies, he had film companies. But what he also did, you know, Ericsson, the company Ericsson, the mobile phone, or the telephone, back then it was a telephone company. He took a controlling stake in that company also, using the same system.
The same model.
Because by the time by then he had like a list of companies that he controlled, and he ended up having a controlling stake in Ericsson.
Crazy.
And then he sat on these companies, and every company he owned, he made sure he had a controlling stake and owned over 50%. So he could get a company and you find someone else to buy the other 49%. He get the company for 1 million. He finds someone to say, this company is worth 2 million. Do you want 49% for 1 million? He takes the 1 million, he throw it into the company, like to the people he bought the company from. He now owns 51%, so controlling stake. So he also, this is the bit that like it blew my mind. He had 50%, he owned 50%, kind of controls basically 50% of the world market of iron ore and cellulose. World, not Sweden. Exactly. Not Sweden. And he was doing this using the same formula.
Oh my God.
He hasn't even started.
My God.
At this point, he's only known in Sweden. He hasn't started, a little bit in Germany. And then this section, I got it from the book that made me to know this guy. My brother gave me a book called The March King. That was in 2013. And the book, man, I'll find it for you. It's amazing.
Okay.
So this section is where the March King comes in. So he went back to his father's company. Remember, his father had a March company. He went back there and started working with his father to try and position the company in a good position in time for the end of the World War. The First World War. So what did he do? He went and bought all the March companies in Sweden.
Yeah.
Because everybody was struggling. So he bought them all because he knew when the World War finished, everybody needed matches. Everybody. Because it was the most
vital
important commodity. Like very vital. You know, you needed like matches. So he took over, and I think they said the companies, when he took them over, and the capital of the company at that point was 10 million, which is equivalent to about, if I'm not mistaken, 150 in today's money.
Woo.
And he owned at least 50% in all the companies that he took over for the matches, or he owned it outright. And he controlled the boards in all of them. And he made sure he placed his brother and some of his friends and his dad on the board of all of them.
This guy.
And when he was doing this, he came across a guy that who pretty much, if he wasn't thinking of taking over the world, this guy surely did help him do that. He met a guy called Oscar. He has a Swedish surname, which I can't say. He took over. This guy was a banker, and he taught him. You see, he was already buying companies using securities, but this guy helped him to perfect it.
Right.
Like to have it to the T. And when he did that, he decided to turn all these companies that he owned, the matches companies, he turned them all into a one company, which became Swedish Match.
All right.
And with
So
this
kind
company,
of almost like
with this
as I said, almost like a BlackRock or Vanguard in this day and age.
exactly,
Right, okay.
where like you see them everywhere. You know what I mean?
Right.
So what he did was, with the matches, you see, like most matches, well, I think all matches that I've seen, they have a red, the red hood on them, the bit that lights up. Okay.
Yeah.
So what actually happened was, back in 1832, almost 100 years before, a German chemist had come up with like a yellow phosphorus, which was used for matches. But apparently it was poisonous and very unstable and dangerous. So matches at that point, it was a little bit something you couldn't like deal with safely. And in Sweden, they came up with the red phosphorus, which we see today.
Which we know now, right?
So, yeah. So when he did that, they all of a sudden, all the matches around the world were buying their materials from Sweden. Who controls the raw materials? It was Ivar Krueger. Because remember,
well played, my friend. Well played.
Like really good. So because he'd already bought, like, remember I said timber companies and all this. He was already buying companies for. So if he had a raw material company that he was buying raw material from, he made sure he buy the company also, or have a controlling stake in the company. Right. So now he controls the raw materials of all the matches, sort of like across Europe. And between 1925 and 1930, he controlled 75% of matches in the world.
Oh, that's insane.
And here's how he went about it.
Was he not the richest man in the world at some point with this level of influence? Or?
Do you know something? It's a shame I never actually looked there. I should have looked there.
Crazy.
And do you know what he did? You see, the Match King, the book. When you listen to the book, I don't read. I all my book. If you hear me say I read this book, I listen
to it. Fair enough.
Yeah,
I'm pretty much in the same boat.
I'll only read. Normally, I'll have like an audio book to listen to, and the actual book to take notes in. So if I'm listening, I'm also opening the pages, and then if I hear something I like, I mark it there, and I go through the book that way. The Match King, the start of it, he's actually traveling to America.
Okay.
And this is like a after this time when it's basically dominated Sweden.
Right.
So he pretty much dominated Sweden and had really control in Europe. And he went to the States. And what he also did was, the time he went to the States, he decided to become international. He knew most countries, their financials had been messed up with the war.
Mm-hmm.
So he went, whilst I'm talking, go on the Wikipedia, on his Wikipedia, Ivar Krueger. I want you to find the section where it talks about how much money did countries and what countries owed him money.
Right. Okay.
So basically what he did was he decided to go to all the countries that because when he got to America, his game, remember that banker, he was with that banker now. He helped him to literally buy more stuff, using securities. And then he got so rich that he started going to countries that were struggling financially, and you say to the country,
giving them loans.
I'll give you loan. In return, I'll have a monopoly of matches in your country. He went to Spain, to Portugal. Like, the list is ridiculous. Did you come across the list?
I've got it here. So it says he went to Poland, owed him 32.4 million. It's Greece, 1 million. Ecuador, 2 million. Yugoslavia, 22 million. France, 75 million. Hungary, 36 million. Germany, 125 million. But it says in total, he loaned out a total of about 387 million in 1930, which corresponds today.
Yeah.
Oh no, this is not today. This corresponds in 2013 currency to 7.1 to 10.4 billion dollars.
Billion.
Crazy.
It's crazy, isn't it? And you remember, do you know how he was getting this money? He was doing a Ponzi. So when he went to the States, he decided to start to do like investments. Like he started to, like, people were investing. So people would invest, and he will make sure you get your dividends.
Mm-hmm.
So you get the first time, the second time, but every time he needed more money to come in for him to give more dividends.
Right.
And then he was starting to loan some of this money. When he get money, he would loan them to these countries. In return, he was getting monopoly for the matches. So his business of matches was going into this country, take over the whole market, and he was snowballing. Like, he was just getting like a massive snowball. And so I think 1932, when I think that's the Great Depression happened.
Yeah.
And it just fall apart. He couldn't keep up. And I think he went to Paris. And when he was in Paris, his death is a bit... some say he killed himself, and they found a gun next to him, and an envelope. There was an envelope with 3 envelopes, a sealed envelopes with 3 sealed envelopes inside it. I have no idea why I have 3 sealed envelopes in. Anyway, it was a letter to say, that he thinks this is the best solution he can take to make sure everybody else, everybody gets at least a fair deal, because he couldn't. Then others say he was killed by the people he was in business with.
That, to me, that makes more sense.
I think that's yeah.
Surely, because
I think they killed him.
I see, when you have that level of control, even if the whole monopoly is crumbling, there's so much that you can hold on to and the family, and you'll still, you can come out at the end of that. Like when countries owe you billions of dollars.
Yeah.
Trust me, there's no way. It doesn't crumble that much. No way.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, think about this: the guy, had more money than his company bank. Like, think about that level. That, like, he had that much money. Like, the money he had was ridiculous. He wasn't even doing it for money, I think. I think it was total world domination.
Domination, right?
Like, he just wanted to control. And here's the thing. You see, when he died, in the States, they changed the law when it come to like financial rules and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And they hadn't changed this law until a guy called Benny Madoff come along. That's why I said at the beginning, he was Benny Madoff before Benny Madoff. He was Trump before Trump, because Trump could, like, he bought most of his stuff using securities. You know what I mean? Like, that's how he played this game. And this guy did it, like, way back then. You know what I mean? So that's my guy. It's fascinating. Wow. Like, I still think his book is worth reading. Like, even if you know his story, because it's just how he played the game. Because even after he died, why I think he got killed by his own people. After he died, only one person went to prison, which was that banker Oscar something
that worked with him.
And do you know how long he went to jail for? Yeah, 10 months. 10 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was the only person that went to prison.
It's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
It's crazy. I still want to know. I'll probably search to see. Yeah, you need to read the book. Well, you know what? If anything, I remember when I read it. That was 2013, and I learned stuff. Sometimes like you're learning from a crook, but there's so much I learned from his aura. It's like if you listen to the book, it starts when he's in like a ship going to from Europe to crossing the Atlantic, and before they even talk about his backstory, they just go on the current day, and he was like a salesman. You know what I mean? Like, he was going around pretty much selling stuff, talking to people in a salesy way.
Right.
And I think those type of people, like, love them or hate them, like, they always win.
Yeah,
always.
It's one of those, it's a fine line, right? Because, like, the skill it takes, it's just that the motivations were, or the execution wasn't quite right. But you can just argue that anyone else who was like uber successful just has the same skill, but applied it in the correct way.
Exactly. Because I think he could have cleaned it up. I think he had the opportunity to clean it up. But I think, I just think he got obsessed with power. I think in the beginning it was money. He wanted money. I think at some point he switched from money to power. I think when you switch...
How do you think he gets to this level? Do you think from the start he was like, I want world domination, I want to absolutely run and do everything? Or do you think it grows with the level? Like, it's like, you get to one level and the confidence pushes you to want the next, and it pushes you to want the next. And then at one point you think, you know what? I absolutely run Sweden. Why don't I just take over the world? Like, how do you think?
I think that's the case. I think he probably came into this as... Remember, he did engineering. You know what I mean? Like, he did civil and mechanical. And you can tell that's what he wanted to do. When he did the constructions and stuff like that. But I think something switched in his head where he was like, now he wants money. You know what I mean? Like, if you move from have a passion and build a business that is, like, let's say, be known as someone, like when he created Krueger and Toll. I think that company is still there.
All right, okay.
Yeah, I think some of the companies he owned, they're still running. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think he quickly switched from that, and he realized. I'm not sure if what I'm not sure about is, did he switch to world domination when he went to take over his father's company, or did he switch to world domination when he took over the Sweden like matches industry?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, did he switch over? Like, when he went to take over the company, his father's company, at that point, was he already thinking, I want to dominate the world? Or was that him wanting to dominate Sweden? And then right. when he dominated Sweden, he goes, I might as well. You know what I mean? Like, low hanging fruits and all.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's a really good one. I really like that one.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Yeah, you know what? I think because you spoke about what's his name? That guy, the one that Napoleon Hill wrote about.
How am I forgetting his name?
Whatever his name is.
I think because we spoke about this off air, actually. That's why I'm forgetting his name. Yeah.
That's why it came like, that's how I thought about this guy, because I thought that would be properly irrelevant anyway. So on to you.
Yeah, that was amazing. Where we're at now, about 50 minutes. I think we can do one more. Okay, what do you think? Any of these that you like the sound of, or should I just pick?
Let me see.
Got a few.
I would go for. Trevor, you have interesting ones.
well, you have to pick one because people are listening to this, and silence is not good, as you know.
Okay. Building an audience versus building a business versus both.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a concept I've been very, I've kind of been thinking about. I haven't gotten a notes or anything on this, but it's just one I want to throw out there. It's just to see, to get a feel of what you think, because business is kind of, especially in this day and age, I think traditional business, people, you build the business and, then you market towards the people.
Yeah.
And then I think we're really seeing almost like a switch, or not even a switch, but just a strategy that people are taking where they're building the audience first and then having the products come after. And I think, a place like YouTube have kind of allowed that. I think it was, if you look at YouTube maybe 6-7 years ago, it wasn't anything that it is now. It's a lot more creatives. But I think you're seeing a lot more business people who are coming in, doing content creation first, and then once the audience is established, finding a product that audience will fit into, and then selling them. And it's quite interesting because you have someone like, let's say, Mr. Beast, who's obviously amassed a crazy audience, and he then comes out with stuff like Beast Burgers and Feastables, like the chocolates and stuff. And I mean, he's someone who has, I don't know, what is it, 100 million subscribers or whatever it is. I don't know. It's ridiculous.
It's a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, a lot of subscribers. And obviously, it's so easy to then leverage a brand on top of that, because if you get 50 million eyeballs on every single one of your videos, even if you're selling, I don't know,
a Fiji spinner in 2023,
exactly. Even if it's selling a Fiji spinner and you convert 10% of those people, you're going to make a few million just off the advertising cost that must be based on just the video alone. So imagine advertising your own product when you have the audience there is crazy. And then you have some people who have niche audiences. You don't have to be Mr. Beast. There's people who who have like a car audience or maybe like a fashion audience, and then launch a brand on top of that. It's like a very interesting strategy. But I want to see what you think. firstly, do you gravitate towards more like the entrepreneur first, who then comes on the platform and kind of builds an audience because they've run a business well? Or do you like the opposite, where you have someone who comes in, also an entrepreneur obviously, but they build the audience first, and then they build the product or the service around that on top?
I think for me, I fall into the second bit. No, because I'm not saying like you need to listen to me to the end. I'm more like the second bit on almost most things I've done. The building a business,
When you say
and
the second
then
bit,
the audience.
you mean build a business first?
Building a business. I've done that a lot. I think it's because I'm like my veins are like oozing with entrepreneurship. Like it's just I was raised by an entrepreneur, and like growing up, I never seen anybody coming out of my house going to work. Nobody went to work. You know what I mean? Everywhere
Right.
they went to work, but they just went to the other room. You know what I mean? Like so, it's like the work was always there. So I come from the sort of like background of building a business. But I think what have happened in the past couple of years is I've got to know the other side, where like on most businesses I build, if I had built those businesses on top of an audience, it would have been so easy. It would have been so easy.
Right.
Because the model I know, but it's based on sort of my upbringing, is more build and they come. You know what I mean? Like, build and they shall come. And you just build
Right.
your thing and the audience will come to you. The customers will come. But I think the best way is, it's like build where the audience is. I don't know if I'm making sense. You know what I mean? Like, it's instead of you like building and then you want people to come, I think you'd rather have the audience and then build where they are. So you already have an audience, and then you build something for that audience. I think there's probably less failures in that model.
Yeah. I think you also find that people, you see, when you build an audience first, you'll get, I think you get sales that are not even dependent on the quality of the product. You see, if someone like Mr. Beast releases an energy drink tomorrow, it could taste horrible, and people are gonna say, "Listen, it tastes horrible," but because it's you, Jimmy, we're gonna buy it. But we're telling you it tastes horrible, so just change it up. And people gotta be patient with you because they've bought into you as the human being, not what you can execute as a business. And I think, like you're saying, it would have been much easier to really create a business on top of an audience compared to the other way around, which is naturally what we've done.
Yeah, and so I don't know. Maybe I'm both. Because
I think. Go ahead.
Sorry, because if I'm having to teach someone what to do, or all the people I talk to, I tell them to build an audience. If I have to tell my daughter to go and figure out what to do with business, I'll be telling her to build an audience. But I think if I have to build 20 business between now and when I'm dead, I think the majority of them, it'll be me building a business because I build what I like. Do you know what I mean? Most of my businesses have come out of what I like to do. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes I don't even know it's a business I'm building. I'm just doing it. And then I monetize it later. Well, I might as well sell. I might as well sort of like put this out and try and make money out of. So I'm more like a both. But if I have to teach people, I'm like, nope. Build your audience and then build on top of that.
Build your business.
And then build your business on top of that. Because if you have an audience, there's no way you should fail. Because here's the thing. If you have an audience and then it's going wrong, you can also pivot. Do you know what I mean? It's like Slack. I think Slack came out of a company that was trying to do something. and then pivot. You know what I mean? Because you already have people that either are using that thing. I think they had Slack as their internal. Yeah, it was their internal system for communication, and then someone else wanted it. Then they gave it. Then they realized, oh, we might as well stop what we are actually doing, and actually build this thing that people actually like. And I think that's always the best. I think if you wanna win, build an audience, and then
audience first.
And then give them a product.
Yeah, and I think like you said, we're both obviously with this podcast, and obviously I've got like a YouTube channel recently started a few months. We're kind of delving into that other side of it, and I think we were talking a couple of weeks back. You said you want to start getting serious on Twitter, but I think we'll both probably start seeing the fruits of building an audience first, and then having that audience there to deploy a product or a service against, and then I think it'll be interesting to see what our view is maybe like a year or two from now when we've amassed an audience and we've built things around that, and maybe we've had like an easier way to build. I think part of the fun of building a business is the difficulties. So I don't know if that would take away from. Yeah, I don't know if that would take away from the fun of building it, but also it might give us like a whole new perspective of, you know what, even though we like the difficulty of building a business, having that audience there gives us that opportunity to, or bumps up that potential of success by like 5, 10, 15%.
Yeah. But I think even though like as like people that like to build stuff, I still think when you're building something on top of an audience, it's just like with your channel. You have businesses before that channel, and the channel was not for you to build any businesses, but because all the ventures that have come out of your channel, like you are passionate about the content on your YouTube and on your channel, but you're not as passionate about the products that are coming out. Not say you're not passionate, you're passionate, but they are coming out of a need. Like people are like, oh, come on, Trevor, like do this for us. So what happens is you end up with, you have people helping you to build these things. So it's like you're putting people in place. That's different than, let's say like your first business. Like even your first couple businesses, you didn't build them in the same way. You were in the muck, you know what I mean? Like you were in there grinding, like, and you were enjoying it, you know what I mean? Like you were up early, sleep late, kind of like, you know what I mean? You were not sleeping the same day you woke up, kind of thing, you know what I mean? Because you were enjoying it. But now you're building things on top of your channel. Of course you come up with a plan and what you want to do with it, but you're also finding people in the right places to do things. To be honest, you're finding people that are so much better in doing those things than you doing them. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And you'd find that, and those businesses sometimes run with like 1 or 2 people. You know what I mean? Like, even just taking the first 2 businesses you created with your channel. I think both of them, I think each have 2 people. No, you got 3 people, but 1 person works on both. So it's like, you know what I mean? It's like 2 people in each plus 1 floating on 2. And that concept is the same concept that, Midjourney. Do you know how many people works for Midjourney on that? Do you know how many people are working on that project? 8 people. 8 people are working on that project. The whole thing.
The fact that you know that and I don't disappoints me. But yeah.
I know. I kept that because... Right? I know. It's because I heard it. Do you know what I was gonna do? I actually wanted to text you when I heard that, and I was like, I'm not gonna do that. I need to tell him. I need to tell him on the pod. And that's the thing with this podcast now, because we talk every day, and then sometimes we are coming up with conversations where we are like, oh, don't tell me. I'm not gonna tell you because I need to.
It gets so excited. Like,
yeah. We have so many conversations anyway. We can't run out. You know what I mean? We can't run out. Just before we go, just a funny one. I think yours will be quicker. Can you search on Twitter, Sehuto? There's a tweet. Well, I think if you say Cejudo McGregor, did you see the tweet? The tweet he made.
No.
Yes. You would want to see that.
Cejudo.
It's funny.
The tweet that Conor made or that Henry?
No. So Henry made. I think. Let me see if I can.
Okay.
I'll pull it up. Do I have it? I was meant to send it to myself.
I'm looking. When did he send it? Is it
okay,
after his fight or?
Go on WhatsApp.
Oh, alright, okay.
Read it.
Okay. So.
Before you do, paint a picture on McGregor. He's not on the. Is it WADA? You know the drug testing pool.
The doping agency.
The doping agency.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah. So for those who don't watch the UFC, basically, if you're an active fighter, if you're someone who's fighting currently, you have to be in the pool of testing, what they call WADA, so the World Anti-Doping Agency. They basically come and test you every I think they give you random tests
every
month or they'll just turn up to your door randomly and say, "Listen, we're testing you," just to make sure that you're not on anything that's unclean, should I say, any steroids, anything that can enhance how you look or how you fight, that kind of thing. And because Conor McGregor hasn't fought in 2 years or whatever, he doesn't have to. If you're not actively, if you haven't signed to fight or you're not actively looking to fight in the next few months, then you don't have to be in that pool because you have to live your life. So I'm guessing this is some context before this tweet. Yeah. So okay, so Conor goes, "Okay, Henry, this is for you. You were doing this really well, yeah. But if you had just done it this way, you could have got a clean shot, bro." Conor McGregor, and he replies, "Conor McGregor don't got shit on my resume." And then, this is what ESPN tweeted, and then he's co-tweeted that saying, Hey Conor McGregor, your grappling is so bad." This guy, the way he writes, "Your grappling is so bad, you can't ever submit a clean urine sample. I've seen more intimidating men on a can of Bud Light."
so he's used like what do you call it? He's used submit for it works for both ways. He can submit a clean urine to WADA, but he can also submit anybody in grappling. So it's like he used that word in the ring. I saw this and I thought, I was actually supposed to send it to you earlier on. Yeah, that's Twitter for you.
These guys kill me. Right. All right.
That's digressed. The podcast.
We'll stop it there. Yeah, that's the pod. See you guys later. Peace.
Peace.